people who play games care about the games. They don't care about the graphics. And
all right. I gotta
hold on. Stop.
What?
Stop. I
gotta jump in on this. I gotta jump in on this. This is crazy. This is crazy.
Welcome back to Gamified number 170. I'm back with an all-star panel to talk about what's going on in the games industry. Up first, he spends his days at the head of BD for OpenSea, convincing companies to put real value into things you can't hold, which either makes the future of everything or the single hardest sales job ever. It's Oliver Maroney.
Thanks for having me back again. Excited to be here.
It's good to have you back. Thanks for making the time, buddy. And up next, he's held the pen on billion-dollar franchise decisions at Disney and then NBC Universal, which means whenever we ask whether 10 arcade logos like Pong can be a movie later in the episode, he's the only one here that's actually been in a meeting like that. It's Mr. Chris Heatherly.
I've held it with this hand.
Right there. There it is. Up next, he came through Sony PlayStation, founded Look Mister, where he's shipping generative 3D tools straight to game development. So while the rest of the internet is arguing about whether AI belongs in games, he's the guy handing developers the button. It is Mr. Josh Hassan for the very first time. Welcome.
What's up, y'all? Thanks for having me.
Good to have you, brother. And up next, he co-founded Parallel and took it to Web3 Game of the Year. Before that, he played in a band and built a bartering app. The resume makes no sense until you talk to him. It's Mr. Koji Nagata.
I mean, you could talk to me and it would still make no sense. But you know what, man? It is what it is. That's life. Thanks for having me, Sam.
That's life, baby. Good to have you back. I'm glad the Odyssey hasn't taken you into the trenches and held you underwater. Up next, he built Soar into an esports powerhouse, ran gaming BD at Magic Eden, and now he runs the Digital Collectors Club. He's also statistically playing RuneScape right now. It's Knock.
I've traded the RuneScape addiction for a One Piece addiction, Sam, so I'm playing OP TCG Sim as we speak.
And he was at Twitch back whenever you had to explain Twitch to your parents, and now he's building Mako and betting the house on AI for creators. It is Mr. Tony V.
Oh, thanks for having me. And Koji, I didn't know that you worked on a barter app. That is currently 5 out of every 4 startups in Seattle is doing some sort of barter app, it feels like.
Well, Tony, I lived on an entire month only on barter for said app. I could tell you about it later.
That's incredible.
You could find the news stories, man. You could find the news stories. It was called Buns. I did my research.
Wait, it was called Buns?
It was.
That's wild. That's a wild name for a barter app.
Hey, VC funded, by the way. Topic number 1: the $55 billion EA buyout. Bullish or bullshit. EA is going private in the biggest take-private deal the industry has ever seen. $55 billion, all cash, and the controlling money is Saudi Arabia's public investment fund alongside Silver Lake and Jared Kushner's Affinity Partners. Shareholders already approved it about 99% in favor. The EU just cleared it, which is why it's a topic here again today. The only gate left is U.S. regulatory review, but most likely that's happening given the current administration. And through all of it, EA keeps saying the same thing. Creative control is going to stay right where it is. Creative freedom stays right where it is. The same studios, the same games, nothing to see here except a $1 trillion state fund now owns Battlefield, The Sims, and basically every sports league-based game on Earth. And the deal loads EA with a mountain of debt, which pressures exactly the live service monetization that the audience it already has is very resentful of. So the panel, I'm asking you guys, are you bullish or bullshit on creative freedom being able to survive the EA take private? Tony, I'm going to you first. Bullish or bullshit?
Bullshit.
I'll go bullish.
Bullshit.
What creative freedom?
Koji.
I'll go bullish.
Bullshit.
Oliver actually used to be a reporter for the NBA and has some involvement in sports leagues. Not anymore, but just wanted to set the table there for some of your background. Koji, I'm going to you. You have the name lit up first.
Yeah, I mean, I'm bullish on it just because we know already how EA operates in the hands of shareholders and wanting the number to go up. Now, obviously, there'll be other pressures, but there's a lot of rumors circling that these Saudi sovereign funds, part of why they're doing all this stuff. Yeah, I mean, they obviously want to make money, but part of why they're doing all this stuff is to sort of clean the Saudi name, and they may care a little bit less. It may give them some breathing room to not just pile on slop year after year after year and actually try some new things. I don't if nothing else, I don't think it's going to be business as usual. And to me, as far as EA is concerned, that's exciting because business as usual is probably pretty poor. And I see in the comments that somebody says Saudis are known for freedom, ? And I kind of agree with that, except when it comes to allowing Americans to go crazy with their money. Like if you look at the, say what you will about that whole Riyadh Comedy Festival that they had, those guys were surprisingly allowed to say some things that I think that the Saudi people themselves probably wouldn't be allowed to say. So I suspect that they'll probably allow this U.S. sort of founded game company to make games that wouldn't exactly be kosher or halal in the Saudi parts.
It feels like it's important to put like a ... so far. You know what I mean? Until they're invested in everything, and then I wonder if it might.
Yeah, but hold on. Could EA get worse otherwise? You know what I mean? Like it's already terrible. Like how much worse could it be? That change is a change, which I think could, spur something positive.
Tony seems like he's chomping at the bit to jump in. Tony, go ahead.
Yeah, I wanted to knock on that last thing that Koji said, because actually that's why I'm bullshit. Is like I don't think, as I worked there, but I don't think there's like a mountain of creativity at EA just like waiting to be unleashed, right? Like I saw no evidence of that when I was there, and I have seen no evidence of that in the games that they've put out since I haven't been there, and so I don't know that like. And it doesn't feel, I mean, the Saudis have the esports thing that they do every year, but it doesn't feel like there's like a good case for like the Saudi video game savant that's going to come in and help unleash that creativity or find the talent to unleash that creativity. Like, I just can't squint and see a way that the Prince Faisal, the Prince of Esports in Saudi Arabia, is going to help accrue or accrete value to EA. And so the thing that I actually, and the reason I'm the sports thing is a big part of why I'm bullshit on this is like a lot of those relationships are like real relationship driven. When I was at EA Sports, the guy Tim, the guy who was our NFL rep, was like he like lived at the office, right? And there were a lot of really tight top to top conversations with like Andrew Wilson in the NFL, and I just don't know how that. I don't know if like Roger whatever is going to be calling again Prince Faisal to talk about the way that the NFL logo is displayed on Madden 28 or whatever, right?
Finish him.
I had to hit him with it, man. I had to hit him with it because like it's giving them money to go private doesn't mean that these guys are now the running the company and doing the daily grind. I also think that like the idea of being free of the shackles of quarterly earning reports and number go up like I don't know quarter after quarter after quarter might, if that's the case, might actually help them look a little bit more long tail, which might allow them to do something.
Finish him.
All right. You're making an argument for the oil barons being more thoughtful and less capitalistic or money driven than the VCs in the United States. And I don't know that we can, and last I checked, oil might be like the most like commoditized and like monetized thing on the earth. And so like I don't know that the Saudis are just gonna be like, hey EA, you know what? You go and be creative, do your thing. I mean, I think they're gonna be pressuring them to launch hits, to export culture, to import culture, to deliver numbers, year over year that grow. I can't imagine that they're not going to do that.
Bro, they already have the infinite money glitch. They don't need the pittance that EA is going to give them compared to what they've already got is like complete.
But that's even worse. That's what I'm saying. That's even worse. That means you're going to have we've all worked for these people. We were in Web3. We've all worked for these people. You're going to have some bazillionaire dude who has only played Civilization 3, and he's going to be like, why aren't there twice as many people playing Madden this year as there were last year? We gave you the infinite money glitch, guys. What the fuck's going on? Or, why hasn't Mutombo visited fucking Saudi Arabia yet? Anthony Stevenson, the head of EA Sports. Like, how do we make that happen? They're going to be fielding all kinds of crazy shit. And instead of having to deal with, again, Tim from the NFL who lives in New York and can fly down, They're going to be dealing with Prince Faisal, who lives in Saudi Arabia.
All right, let's get some more people in the mix as we get the snooze on Tony. I'm going to go over to Knox. Seemed like he was about to have an aneurysm just a second ago. But I do want to add that Saudi, not only are they buying this stuff out, they are actually doing things to educate the youth in both esports and game development. I did a quick grok, and it said 719,000 high school students across thousands of schools generated 155,000 game concepts through the Ministry of Education, blah, 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 with Roblox and support for prototypes and building them out. So that is cool to see them investing in the future of actually making the culture about education and making better games and not just buying these things. Go ahead.
Yeah, just as a quick aside, because my brain is fried now that Tony asked that question. The reason why Dikembe Mutombo hasn't flown out to Saudi Arabia is because he died 2 years ago. So I doubt that it's looking any better in the future. I said bullish because creative freedom at EA looks like 40 franchise versions of Madden NFL, 30 versions of FIFA, 40 versions of the NHL, 25 versions of the PGA Tour, 15 versions of Battlefield, 25 versions of Need for Speed. You want to go a little bit further down, there are 7 SimCity builders. I didn't even know that many existed. Creative freedom at EA has looked like repeating the same title every single year over the course of the last 30 years. So I don't see that changing. The whole reason why they made this purchase, the reason why EA is a allegedly $55 billion company, is because their creative freedom looks like regurgitating the same material on a yearly basis, milking that title for every dollar that they can possibly get out of it, and then releasing the same fucking game the following year, but changing the number on the title. That's what creative freedom looks like. If, as a little bit of a maybe devil's advocate point, there's a lot of conversation that Koji and Tony just had about the Saudis. But if you look at some of the things that they have done around sports, those leagues, as chaotic as they have been, as stupid as many of them have been known for one thing, and it's the creative approach to the game that they're playing. You look at Live Golf, that is a game that is incredibly boring in the PGA Tour, that faced teamed events. They had these special versions of it. They have music on the tee boxes. They have all these crazy jersey events. They took a game that was otherwise really boring and created a pretty fun spectacle. Now it's gone belly up, and you can say what you want about the Saudis and their history. But from my perspective, I think it's likely that nothing changes from the releasing the same mainline games every single year. And maybe they inject a little bit of that chaos and creativity that you saw in Live Golf into some of their gaming titles. It couldn't be a bad thing for them.
Yeah, let's go to Oliver, and then we'll tag in Chris.
Yeah, I think, look, everyone's kind of correct in that EA isn't necessarily the most creative thing in the entire universe, and it shouldn't be the creme de la creme of gaming studios or platforms out there for someone to purchase or buy. I think the problem that you have, I guess it already is bad. So yes, how much further can it go? We don't really know. I think my fear here is that every new buyer or investor, there's never not an ulterior motive or hidden value here for them. You cannot convince me that there isn't something that they will end up receiving here that is not what we see on paper today. And I'll use the example, the Live Golf thing is probably a pretty good one, but there's other ones out there that probably exist. Obviously, the Saudi investment funds have kind of, I think, a Jekyll and Hyde kind of feeling or vibe to them. Some people really like them, some people don't. There's a lot of kind of ups and downs to that. And so I do think the sports leagues will probably have to be quite careful. Some of them probably have deals that conflict with one another, and so there's a lot of other things here at stake, I think, than what we're thinking. And so I just worry that EA suffers from some of the deals that we've just discussed. Is the NFL going to be fine being in bed with a Saudi investment fund? Are the beer companies or the companies that sponsor the NFL going to be okay with some of the product that gets put out? And then secondarily, think about the other side. If they do put it out and for whatever reason, push comes to shove, what are the potential pitfalls here? And I think there's some pretty dangerous pitfalls as well. I don't know what they would want to insert in a game, but the Saudi investment fund also is funding, I believe, Cristiano Ronaldo and some of the clubs and teams around that. So does the AFC like prop up Cristiano Ronaldo to a degree that's like higher than other players because of this? That's like a very basic, bare bones example. And whether subconsciously or consciously we believe that could actually happen, I think there's always going to be a piece of me that's like, oh, like they definitely optimized the game for like the Saudi clubs to look a little better than some of the English clubs or the American clubs or whatever. And again, this is one example, but I would just be fearful that like a lot of this stuff can't trickle down. And yes, they have all the money in the world. And yes, they've shown that they've given creative freedom to people in the past. But you cannot tell me that if investors are not seeing returns on their investments, that they are not going to get their hands dirty and they are not going to act like everything's fine and dandy, and that they can't play Civilization 3 once and say, well, Madden, we need to come up with a new solution for how people get first downs in this game or else it won't work. Here's my creative idea. Like there's a lot of pitfalls here. That's why I'm worried. That's why I think this is bullshit.
Yeah, it is interesting too to see them take over Sims, which is a game that's really about like American life and culture. And then there's Battlefield, which is about the American war machine, et cetera. Like there's a bunch of really interesting matches to be made here. Chris, going to you for the last word.
I first want to say to any Saudi princes who may be listening that I am open and fully available for sale. And so if any Dubai sheiks want to, back up the money truck, I will gladly receive your cash. I have to laugh at all these people who are suddenly too good for the Saudis, but had no problem taking, mountains and mountains of cash from the Chinese Communist Party, as if they're great lovers of human rights and didn't have their own agenda. Just by the by, the biggest gaming company in the world is still Tencent. The number 2 is probably NetEase. Last time I checked. So there's a lot of foreign cash in games, and foreign. Not every culture, thinks about things the same way we do. Look, I don't think it changes a lot for EA because the Saudis are going to be hands off. I think the biggest creative, change will come from the debt and servicing the debt, and it's going to put pressure on them to perform. Right? There's the risk here when it's not dissimilar to what happened to streaming. There's a great article out this week from Joseph Kahn in the Hollywood Reporter called "Bring Back the Hollywood Asshole," and he talks about the dangers of kind of easy money and being decoupled from the market. I could read you the whole thing, but I won't. But he was talking about how streaming changed the equation for studios. And he said studios were no longer just making movies for audiences. They were making content for platforms, libraries for algorithms, growth stories for investors. Profit became abstract. Losses became strategy. And the town stuffed with stock market funny money started to believe it had been liberated from the old vulgar burden of making hits. And I think that is the risk of having all this Saudi cash. And so what's going to enforce that discipline is going to be the debt. But, look, I don't know that EA has ever been the most creative studio anyway. I think that it's always kind of played to get on base as opposed to, swing for hits or anything that's kind of industry changing. And I don't expect that to change.
Yeah, great points there, Chris. I should have added it to the intro read, but $20 billion in debt that they're taking on as part of this as well, to your point. We move on. DLSS 5, 4 months later, I'm asking the panel for their sentiment score, which is 1 to 10 here. Back in March, Jensen Huang, the CEO and founder of NVIDIA, if you've been living under a rock, stood on stage at GTC and called DLSS 5 a GPT moment for graphics in games. Of course, gamers replied, calling it slop. They went frame by frame through all the different trailers that they showcased and told us why, that car having 6 wheels means that this is the most ridiculous thing that's ever been shown to anybody ever. Jensen's response was 4 words. They are completely wrong. Quick refresher, DLSS 5 takes your finished frame plus its motion data and runs a neural model over it that enriches lighting, materials, skin, hair, fabric, reflections, etc., NVIDIA is adamant that this is not a filter rewriting your frame. They call it a third category of rendering, generation, sitting on top of rasterization and ray tracing, anchored to the original geometry, that point being really important because a lot of people are saying, oh, you're changing the original art. They're saying, no, we are just stacking things on top of it. Here's why we're running it now, in addition to talking about it in March, because we're 4 months later, we have some more receipts, and they showed it again at SIGGRAPH this month. And it is obvious they spent the entire spring answering the backlash. There are now 3 separate neural models, and studios can mix them scene by scene. There are 2 intensity sliders, one for fine detail, one for lighting and tone. And then there's a masking system as well, automatic character masking plus developer masks on any object, which means a studio can tell the AI to enhance an environment, but never touch a character's face. On the practical side, the March demo needed 2 5090s, one to run the game and one to run the AI. Now it's running on a single GPU, so a massive upgrade there. But they still have not published performance cost, minimum spec, or any release dates besides fall, is what they've said. So panel 0 to 10 after 4 months of watching AI progress everywhere and watching NVIDIA walk this thing toward artist control. Do you have more faith in whenever it does come out in the fall for it being a GPT moment that will change the way people consider AI's integration with gaming? Give me your sentiment score 1 to 10. Tony, kick us off.
I'll give it an 8.
I'll give it a 6.
I'm going to go 9.
100.
I'm going to go an 8 as well.
7.9.
Wow. Knock, I'm tempted to start with you, brother, since you're the low note here. Why do you give it a 6, and why do you think everybody else is giving it a higher score?
I don't know. I can't help but feel that this is just another. I think another GPT moment could not be more accurate here. Look, what happened with GPT and Claude is everybody started using workflows. 90% of those people did not understand how to use those workflows, and everybody started pumping out shit that looks basically the exact same as everybody else. You see this now, especially in crypto. Anytime that there's a remotely new product, you see 49 versions of that product. All of those versions look indistinguishable from one another. I think that if you're looking at it from an absolute GPT moment, it's probably going to play out a lot like GPT. Really shitty devs who don't understand what they're doing are going to apply this to the things that they've created. You're going to see 400 games come out that look basically the same as every other title that's launching within a 12-month window. And for every 100 really shitty implementations, you're going to see 1 or 2 implementations that are actually pretty impressive and save a company a ton of money or improve something that they want to re-release. For me, this is exactly like a GPT moment. It is a tool that is incredibly powerful that will eventually become a very good thing in the hands of the right teams. But for the average person who just believes that this is a cheat code for graphics or a cheat code for getting your work done, or for the student who thinks this is how I write my essays, most of those people are just turning out slop. And I think that that's probably what's going to happen here in the short term. Doesn't mean that it won't be a good thing. It's why I didn't give it a super low score below 5. I'm cautiously optimistic that this ends up being what everybody else on the panel seems to think this will be. But I think that the early iteration of this will just look like a ton of games that look the exact same.
And if you guys are watching on YouTube, you can see the original trailer they showed us 4 months ago that was torn apart by Reddit ruthlessly. Josh, I'm excited to get you into the mix. I know you do some AI consulting and a ton of AI integrations with DGen Rivals and some of the other stuff you do. You gave this one if I can read, a 9. Tell me why.
Yeah, I did. Oh no, man. Did my screen glitch out for you guys? Look at that. There.
I'm a little bit frozen. It might be Lems on the back end.
I'm sort of. This is a DLSS 5 moment. I need. Yeah. I wish we had it now. Trust me. You would all be complaining a whole lot less. Yeah, look, I didn't give it a 9 because I think it's going to change, the world like ChatGPT hasn't, but I think that look, these changes in technology are inevitable. They're inspiring. Yes, there will be slop. Look, I don't necessarily know I believe what I see here. All these clips are really short, really small, very focused camera moves. You don't see very broad diversity in anything here. So I think we're very, very far away from this being, usable in any real way. This looks like some sort of, Ken Burns HD moment here. I'm intrigued with where it's going. I think it's going to yield some really interesting results. But yeah, I think we've got 5 years easy before this hits the light of day.
Yeah, I'm not sure if this is part of our reel or not, but I remember in particular, I think it was Cyberpunk, but it was some kind of open world in a city that was also used for one of these demos. And that was the one that was picked apart the most, to your point, because there was like a station wagon with 7 wheels and there was windows that were weirdly duplicated. And it was much more obvious because they were trying to capture so much at the same time. Chris, tagging you in, brother, you were an 100. So you think whenever this comes out in the fall that it's going to change public opinion in addition to how businesses are actually doing business in the games industry?
Well, I'm just 100 on it because I think that this direction for technology is so promising, right? I think it's the beginning of something, not the end. But look, the problem that consoles and frankly PC have is that there's two tensions, right? There's this feeling that like people are used to these console cycles and they're waiting for the next console to come out for that next leap in quality or whatever. But hardware has become astronomically expensive and it's making it unlikely that there will be another console generation soon, or if there is, it's going to be very expensive and it's going to take a long time for people to adopt. And so how do you get people re-engaged and give them a reason to play again? You use this technology to make stuff look better on their existing hardware, right? That's a win for everyone. And people can bitch about it, on the internet or whatever. But if your game is suddenly that much better looking, you're going to go of course you're going to give it a try. It's like a 4K upres or it's like IMAX. I mean, look at how big IMAX has been this summer for movies and especially for the Odyssey. But it's just becoming more that like people need that leap in quality, and they're not going to get, and they're just not. We can't count on them to get it from a new, very expensive to spend, $1,500 to get a new piece of hardware in order to get that feeling. On top of that, you have the whole remastering phenomenon, right? And the re-release phenomenon. There was an article that came out today that talked about how a significant amount of games that are being played now that are having success are actually remasters. And so, when you add it on top of that, you're going to have some of the best games ever made re-released, and now with the potential to look even better. And the last point I'll make is like, if you look at this video behind you, like the game developers who are making the decision to use this are not fucking suckers. These are some of the top studios. So they're using it because it makes their stuff look better, not because it makes it look like slop. That's just a stupid, kind of internet reaction.
Yeah, Hogwarts Legacy, FIFA, Cyberpunk, the list. Oh, Starfield, also the Bethesda game, among the list of the initial jump-off games. Knock, I know you want to jump in, then we'll go to Oliver.
Yeah, I mean, like, look, the video that's playing here is exactly the concern that I stated. Like, for what it's worth, I believe in the technology. I think this is going to change game dev. Every single video that we have seen, if you took the character that was remastered, put it into any other of the clips, it wouldn't look out of place. It applies a sameness to literally everything that you are looking at right now, at least in this early trailer. Like, there's no distinguishing factor between what we're looking at right now in Resident Evil in the updated version versus literally that Hogwarts clip that came right after it. It's the same look and style. I think that's the concern that a lot of people have. Part of the reason why you play an old game is because, yes, it's a great game, but also because it has a certain quality to it, an environment, an atmosphere to it. And if you apply the same level of upscaling to every old game, you're basically just playing 100 games that look the same. And I think people are going to be pissed off about that.
Because you're bringing that up, Knock, this reminds me of the Unity 7 topic that we had last week, which was a devil's advocate. Why is Unity 7 putting AI in their engine maybe a bad thing? And basically, the summarization of 20 minutes of us arguing was insamification. It's going to make everything look similar. Josh, if you're open to it, I'm curious for your perspective on how do we avoid the insamification and games just becoming, I don't know, ubiquitous and boring?
Yeah, what actually occurred to me while I watched this repeatedly is like, I wonder if what you see on your machine when you're DLSS 5ing, and can we rename that? It's fucking annoying. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Is the same thing that I see, right? Because like, you know, I don't know how they're going to wrangle that, right? You know, there's going to be a margin of shift when that, you know, upreses or, you know, whatever we call this on your device as to my device. So that's a little sketchy, right? That a character might look slightly older or slightly younger. That strikes me as troubling. I get Knox's point. You know, I'm not here to be the guy who's like, this is the worst it's always going to be. You know, it's only going to get better. But it is only going to get better. And from what I understand about how these are trained, is they are trained specifically per game, right? So it's not like an overall model that works across all of these games. I do think clearly they've been fed the same diet of photoreal-ish stuff. You're not seeing a lot of stylized, content here. So I think there's probably a reason for that, right? But I think once that does happen, things will start to feel a little bit more unique, hopefully.
Oliver, tagging you in on this one, you gave it a 7.9. What do you think it looks like for this to be a GPT moment versus if it's just kind of falling flat on its face?
Yeah, I can kind of see like Knox's point of view of like how everything could be looking similar. Even when you go through these clips multiple times, you start to see there's like very similar, hyper real kind of vibes to it. But as a gamer, I don't know if I would actually realize that I am playing the same game. I don't know if I'd or a similar style of game. And I think back to like the games that I've loved to play, and if this were on it, would I still play it, or would that actually impact or improve positively my interaction with that game? And I think the answer is mostly yes. And so that's why I have it as a 7.9, is like, yes, there's probably a fear that some of these games feel slightly similar in like the hyper real photo version. And again, this is like a trailer of a clip of a thing. Like, we don't actually really know what this fully is going to come out and turn out to be. But I think in general, my sense is that like if Grand Theft Auto felt a little more real, and if like COD felt a little more real, and if Starfield felt a little more real, and like EAFC felt a little more real, would I be coming away saying, damn, that felt too real for this video game? Like, I don't think I would. And like, yes, I understand that there's like the slop narrative to it, but I in all of these, I actually objectively think that they look better. Like, that is just like, is there anyone on this panel that doesn't think that?
Yeah, Koji threw a few thumbs down.
Yeah, I saw the Koji thumbs down.
If you're just talking about fidelity, then like you're getting rid of the soul of games. Like old school RuneScape is a game that everybody gives shit because of the way that it looks.
You're living in the past, dude. Get your cassette tapes out, get your video game cartridges, and go somewhere else. I don't see it.
Koji, go ahead.
Yeah, so okay, I agree and disagree with some of what's being said here. I gave it an 8 because I think that this tool is going to be somewhat ubiquitous when it comes to making games in the near future. I don't know if it's going to have this like massive turning point moment, like, public consumption like GPT, but I do think that like people who are building these types of games are going to build this stuff. As far as Knox, like, insamification, we're already there, brother. All the shit already looks the same. It's not as if this tool is making it look that way. We just like to consume the same garbage over and over and over again. And like, Starfield is a bad game. Just because that character looks more real now, it's not going to make me think like, oh, this game's great now. It sucks. Hold on. I agree that it looks better.
Don't hold on. Don't hold on, man.
Get them all.
I got this button and I'm using it. No, it doesn't matter. Like, I wouldn't play Starfield either. It's not a good game. Like, I'm not saying it's a good game. I'm just saying if I was already playing this game anyways, it would impact me positively, not negatively. Like, come on, dude. Wrap it up. I spent 5 seconds talking about this.
I'm just kidding. But here's the thing. I don't think this actually matters as much as people think it matters. Like, if you do this or you don't do this, it's not going to change whether or not I or we on this panel play this game. I mean, anyone who's like a staunch anti-AI person, maybe they won't play one of these games, but otherwise, like, a good game is a good game, even if the fidelity is like not ramped up to the last ounce that your graphics card can throw out, right? Like, if a game is fun, people will play it. We've seen it 100 times over with a bunch of indie games, and I don't think it's going to make AAA games better. But I think that like if you can do it and you can make these games look, like 5% better, like why not? People are already spending like tens of thousands of dollars on the most high-end gaming PCs to squeeze every ounce of performance out of them for no reason. Why not allow them to make the games look slightly better? But like, I don't think this matters in the long run. It's like such a nothing.
Ollie, any rebuttal before I send it over to Josh?
No, I think Koji and I are actually probably more aligned than I thought initially. I don't think we're that far off. I'll let Josh go.
Yeah, Josh, go ahead.
I'm just trying to get somebody to tell me to shut the fuck up. But, we're getting close, I'm sure. But yeah, I think to Koji's point, like who said that visual, realism is really the ultimate goal, right? Like I'm kind of tired of that. And I don't think that any 13 or 14-year-old out there thinks that that's the actual holy grail of gaming anyway. So I think this is an interesting exercise, but it definitely is not the future of all games, as it were. Tony, let's tag you in and then go to Knock.
You guys are fucking crazy. Absolutely crazy. This particular expression of this, I agree, is not like, blow your clothes off. I do think it looks good. And I agree that, with both Oliver and Koji, that if you can, why not? But the way I look at this is it feels like it is not just automating, but making more accessible things that are very esoteric, like lighting and shading, and the way that the environments work together and our what do you call them, like set pieces. And that's where I think like I actually also agree that like I don't think that this is going to make me and Oliver good game developers or make games that we vibe code look materially better. But I do think that the bros at Bethesda, or the women at Bethesda, or the designers who have decades of entrenched endemic experience in this type of work, are going to not only make good use of these tools, but they're going to build tools on top of them to do the things that I'm saying, to make it so Oliver and I can understand, or not have to understand, things like lighting and shading to put together a well-composed scene. And that's where I get excited. That's where I think it's a ChatGPT moment, because I think that the talented engineers and the talented product people are going to take this and make it so that a monkey can use this like a typewriter to make Shakespeare. That's really where I think things like this go.
Yeah, one more thing I want to add to that is, for a long time, we chased from PS1 to 2 to 3. How many polygons basically can we put on the screen and make things look cool? And you got Tomb Raider going from the iconic triangle pyramid boobs to like boobs that looked like boobs. And that was transformative and everybody loved that. And then the PS4 came out and we were like, this basically looks like a PS3. And I haven't seen anything that made me excited about graphics on a console game really since this. I was like, wow, when it swipes across the screen, this does look like I remember a console leap. And it might be inaccurate to the art style. It might be insamification, but you can't tell me that the before doesn't look less graphic have less graphical fidelity than the one after.
Wait. Does it actually make you want to play those games? You guys, by the way, you guys should all be politicians, because you're answering the question that you want to answer as opposed to the question that Sam asked. But like just like it's swiping across the screen make you think like, you know what, I should check out Starfield again. Like I don't care about, and like if I was playing these games and it had this tech and it made it look good, great. But seeing this, I'm not like, I need to re-examine these games. Like, this is just, who cares? Who cares?
It gives me another reason to play Resident Evil.
Yeah,
I think
remaster is really the best case for this. If you told me I got to play Oblivion and it had this turned on instead of me having to look at Oblivion's clunky ass, I'd be like, yeah, now I want to play Oblivion again.
Bro, you could do that right now. You can do that right now. There's about 1 million mods for that game.
They spent $50 million remaking it or whatever, and I can pay $79.99 to go buy the fucking collector's. I don't want to do that. I just want to be like, hey, AI, make it look good. And then
this will be free for sure. I guarantee you won't have to pay at all for any of this.
If it can run on a 5090 and I have one, maybe it will be free or cheap or cloud or something. I don't know. Oliver, going back to you.
Yeah, just a quick thought. The only thing that I think is a downside here is that, to everybody's point, we're discussing how it can make these games look hyper real or whatever, and it makes it look better. My fear would actually be like game studios that don't know what the hell they're doing, to Tony's point, or people who don't know what they're doing, and they spin this up and they put this on there and they make this awesome trailer or awesome graphics that make it look absolutely incredible. We've seen this for the test of time. That's not anything new. But you get a game like that and then it doesn't actually functionally play well, I do think it would have a bad outlook on just the entire concept of this. And it's going to happen. Inevitably, people are going to build on top of this and you're going to be like, man, this game looks super cool, but it's shit. That happens. I just think you almost like amplify that to a degree with some of the stuff like this. So that's the danger I think you have here. But ultimately, I think I'm going to answer Koji's point here too. You wouldn't play this or that. I would play EAFC tomorrow if it looked like that. Like there is a very much an urge to want to play it when it looks like that versus what it looks like previously.
Yeah, literally the first order of magnitude improvement in hyper-realistic graphics ever if it doesn't look like dog shit and have a bunch of artifacts and give people 3 legs. Like if we could just have that caveat, if it looks knock you're fucking you look like you guys go ahead.
Yeah, let me explain something for all the people who evidently don't play games on this panel. Here's what it looks like anytime a new game leads with their graphic settings, okay? You open the game, you go, oh, I wonder what ray tracing looks like in this game. You crank settings to epic, you walk around for 13 seconds, you go back into settings, you shut everything off all the way down to fucking low, and you play the game for the next 3 years. That's what happens 100% of the time anybody loads up a new game. People do not give a fuck about the way that a game looks, especially if that person is a streamer or a competitive player. Those people do not care what a title looks like. And the way that games are distributed today, by and large, are by the streamers who are playing every game that you look at on fucking low settings because it creates a burden on the fucking systems that they're using, and it adds extra shadows and things that make it harder to find what you're shooting. I think the idea of higher fidelity video games is appealing to people in the same way that it's appealing for like all sports games should be casted with 8K cameras. And then you get a shot of the end zone in 8K and you're like, I fucking hate the way that looks. Thank God the game's not displayed like that. People who actually consume these things do not care.
But okay, just because you're right doesn't mean you're wrong, though. It doesn't mean you're not wrong, though. Right? I mean, just because people play it on the high settings and then they lower the settings for their hardware doesn't mean they don't want to play it on the higher settings. They don't want it to look better.
It's not about hardware, Chris. I play on an absolute fucking spaceship simply because, like Lems and I were going on in the chat here, because a 5090 is a bigger number than a 2060, but I still play every fucking game I play on the lowest settings possible, because if my game stutters for whatever reason in the middle of the game, I'm uninstalling the game and smashing a keyboard. And that's how most people play the games.
Okay, but
that's
sure, but
that's not true. I do not believe that for 1 second. And streamers, get the hell out of here with that. How many streamers?
The examples that you gave, Ollie, you're like Call of Duty, FIFA. I promise you, because I work with those professional teams.
I'm saying it for my own personal self. I'm saying if you are playing Hogwarts Legacy, you are not playing that game for the graphic settings to be on low. There is absolutely no.
I'm not playing Hogwarts Legacy
to
look at rooms. I'm playing Hogwarts Legacy so I can hit people with fucking spells in a Harry Potter style universe. I don't care what the fuck it looks like.
But it's not close.
Yes, you do.
Yes, you do.
You do. You get out of here.
Nobody's watching a stream of a guy on fucking low on the brand new released game that they're super excited about because it's beautiful. And go ahead, Ollie.
I understand you're playing around multiplayer, but what about single player? You don't think
here's an example.
Chris, this is all I'm getting.
When we were at SOAR, when we were at SOAR, we would sign deals with games on new launch.
Competitive esports?
No. This isn't a competitive. We had a bunch of streamers at SOAR. And when we would sign a release for a single player title, in the contract, and basically every single streamer title includes a settings requirement for that contract. You have to play the game on these settings. The way that it would work is the streamer would play the games on the days that they were paid to play that game, and they would play it on the settings that they were told that they have to play. If that game did well with their audience and they didn't lose a bunch of audience, and the equation between the money I'm making from this sponsorship deal and the number of viewers I'm losing wasn't too bad, and they wanted to continue playing that game, every single streamer on the day they stop being paid by that fucking game, crank the settings down because nobody wants to fucking look at it all day long. I promise you, this is how it works in the streamer space. They play highest settings when they are paid to do so. In every other scenario, they shut it off because if you're playing for 8 to 10 hours a day, nobody wants to look at high fidelity graphics. It hurts your fucking eyes.
Okay, but high fidelity sells new games and it sells new consoles, right? So you may this is the point I'm trying to make, is whether people ultimately tune the settings down, it does drive game sales, right? And if you're able to give people a console level quality jump without having to get a new console, or for the cost of a new graphics card instead of a whole new computer, people will do that.
I think that can we all agree that if you showed somebody the Mass Effect trailer, the new Mass Effect that's coming out, and it was pre-swipe, it would sell less copies than if it was post-swipe, assuming people didn't think it was AI related. They were just looking at the two and they were like, oh my God, this one is prettier. I'm more likely to buy it now.
100%. If it's an absolute same game, I think I'm not arguing whether or not people will buy it. I'm saying that people, when they're actually playing the game, do not care. What they care about is whether or not the game is good. Lem brings up that people who play on console want to play with fidelity and graphics that look better than what their consoles can currently support. Console players are a dying breed exactly because they think of that. There are two types of people who play video games today. The people who play it on their phone, which doesn't have 8K graphics, or the people who play it on $10,000 computers on the lowest setting possible because that's what they want to look at for 8 hours a day when they're playing that title. I promise this is the way that the modern streamer works.
The argument that you just made is disingenuous anyway, because like if I show someone a better picture and a worse picture, are they going to pick the worst picture? Like obviously not. But if you just showed them one picture and said this was the game, they'd be like, great, sign me up. Also,
the reason it's not disingenuous is because you just used the word better. And I'm saying some people are trying to make the claim that it's not better because it's sharper, because the lighting is improved.
No, I'm saying it doesn't matter. I'm saying it doesn't matter though. Like I think you guys are exposing yourselves as technologists and not gamers, to be honest with you, because like people who play games care about the games. They don't care about the graphics. And
all right. I gotta
hold on. Stop.
What?
Stop. I
gotta jump in on this. I gotta jump in on this. This is crazy. This is fucking crazy. So, absolutely, I agree that like the quality of the game is important and the gameplay, but I just can't get.
Sorry, Tony. I wasn't finished here. I got some stats for you. Okay. The top 3 selling games in the last 6 months are Mecha Chameleon, Slay the Spire 2, and Subnautica 2. Not games that require massive heavy lifting from graphics cards or DLSS fucking 69420 or whatever. Like,
you can have your opinions, guys, or you can be right. And the correct answer is there's a reason why Minecraft, Roblox, League of Legends, Counter-Strike, Dota, games that are 10, 15 years old, by all accounts, outdated from a graphical perspective, are still the most popular games on the planet.
And I'll give you number 4, 5, and 6 are Forza Horizon 6, Resident Evil Requiem, and Crimson Desert. But then we also have Gamble with Your Friends, Mugenics, Windrose, and Far Far West. Like, graphics are not the be all and end all when it comes to selling games, and it's not even close. Go ahead, Tony.
I'm not arguing that's where I think there's like a wide gap between this technology that is going to enable monkeys to make video games look better is useless, and this technology is going to sell more video games than anything else.
Hold on, really quickly, don't misrepresent me though. I said this is going to be ubiquitous, and I gave it an 8, but I don't think it's as important as people think.
But that's where I think you said something about like technologists, which I read as like highbrow, but I think that's a very highbrow. Like I know this isn't you, Koji, because I know you, and Knock, I know you, but like when I hear that, I hear like I define myself as my hobby as a gamer, and so it's important to me to have this institutional opinion that the plebs don't have. I don't hear that like this is an actual opinion that I would apply in the workplace where I'm making. Like, I don't think that you would walk into Parallel Studios and be like, hey, or if your art team was like, hey, we got this thing that's going to make the game look better, you wouldn't be like, fuck that, guys. Like, I don't it's not important. Shut the fuck up, right? You'd like take it seriously and look at it and evaluate it. And that's what I mean. I don't think it's just like it doesn't matter. I think the it doesn't matter feels more like a hyperbolic. I need to be an expert. And I know again, it's not you guys. I need to be an expert in gaming opinion than a true like this is a quality evaluation that I'm making. And again, I'll say one last thing. I know you guys have data. And I was doing some Googling here. I couldn't find anything good, so you might be right. But I am the opposite of what you're saying, which is why I'm so surprised. Like I turn the graphics up all the way and then I leave them there. And if they stutter, it actually like, and if I have to turn the graphics down, it actually makes me less likely to want to like keep playing and finish the game. I don't actually know if it's because of the way they look or because I feel like offended that my hardware
you spent enough money. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, right. Like so I'm not sure. Yeah. I'm not sure what that is, but I know that like I have had that experience as recently as like Crimson Desert.
All right, let's go. One more quick take from everybody else that wants to jump in. Oliver, Koji, Knock. I know you guys all have something. Knock, go ahead.
I love if the game makes me feel like I'm poor, I don't like that game anymore take. I've felt that as well for what it's worth. So I like that. I think the point that I'm trying to make, and I think Koji is probably in a similar vein here, is that higher fidelity does not equate one-to-one as better or a better experience. And I think that this is evident in sportscasting. There was a moment in time in where sports, every single game was being broadcast in 8K cameras, and people did not like the way that it looked. It hurt their eyes. They felt motion sick. And by all accounts, it's a better viewing experience. It's a higher fidelity viewer experience, but they defaulted back to 8 or 4K and lower because they liked the way that it looked. The problem, and I think the issue that a lot of people who play games have with something like DLSS 5, which I agree with you, Josh, what a fucking mouthful, is they are worried, to your point, Sam, about the insamification. And Tony, I like the idea of rigging lighting systems and XYZ and all of these things that could be a year or two down the line. But simply making something higher fidelity does not mean that the art style is better. It does not mean that it looks more visual.
All right, I said a quick take. Oliver, over to you.
Very briefly, just very surprised that people turn down their resolution and screen settings to make it look graphically worse in any capacity. And I understand that there's multiplayer games, and I understand there's online games that you play competitively. But if I'm playing a campaign mode, I want it on the highest settings possible because that's the best way to go. Single player game, same thing. So just very surprised by that. Also, I'm not a gamer, apparently, if that's my choice, which is, I'm just like shocked by that. That's all. That's my closing argument.
All right, technologist Oliver, putting the mic down. Koji, last quick statement.
Yeah, I mean, to that point, I just leave my settings on stock. Whatever it gives me out of the gate is what I play with. I really just care about, is the game fun? You know, like it could look like Slay the Spire, or it could look like Resident Evil Requiem, and I'm good with both of them. But yeah, I don't know, man. I think that making things look good is looking better is nice, but it's just like icing on a cake. And if the cake tastes like shit, I don't want to eat it.
Fair enough. We move on. Topic number 3. That was a great debate, guys. Atari turns its arcade classics into a movie. Red flag or green flag? Atari is licensing 10 arcade properties for film: Asteroids, Adventure, Berserk, Breakout, Centipede, Crystal Castles, Millipede, Missile Command, Pong, and Yar's Revenge. If you're like me, you can picture like 2 of those in your head. Important framing before anybody panics, though, this is probably one movie and not all 10 being independent IPs. So if you saw Wreck-It Ralph or Ready Player One, it's probably a universe where they're jumping around between them or something like that through Atari canon, which doesn't fully solve the problem because half these games have no characters, no story. There is no plot in Pong. You're basically renting white rectangles. The counter is that a few of these do have DNA. Missile Command is Cold War Dread. Centipede and Yar's Revenge are sci-fi worlds. Adventure is an early adventure game with a map and a dragon. Is this the far end of the gold rush that Mario and Minecraft kicked off? Panel, red flag or green flag for the Atari cinematic universe, as Koji is so eloquently putting it in the chat. Tony, going to you first.
Definitely a red flag from me.
I tried so hard for a green flag, but it's a red flag.
I gotta go red.
Crimson Red.
I feel like Chris Tucker in the Fifth Element, because it could not be more green, baby. Emerald green.
Jesus Christ.
Oh man, if everybody was gonna go red, I was just gonna say green for the sake of saying green. I'm saying red. I'm saying red.
All right,
I can't.
We got Chris on one side with Crimson Red, Koji with Emerald Green. I'm curious to get those takes back to back. Chris, going to you first.
So I worked at Universal, and I was the head of games, and I was asked by the studio to pitch the top studio brass on game titles that we could make into movies. And I pitched them things like Last of Us and Gears of War and Street Fighter, which they did the movie in the 90s, but then and could have had the opportunity. I pitched them every major game you can think of that has any kind of story that's worth talking about that wasn't already taken. Halo was taken. There were a few more that were taken. I pitched them on the Tom Clancy verse. And they just couldn't wrap their mind around it. It was all too nerdy, gamer in the basement, blah, 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 blah. So they didn't listen to me, and they barely paid attention during the presentation. And now they want to get now everyone else is having success with games, and they're having success with games. Credit to them with Super Mario, right? With that relationship that they have with Illumination, but they're having success with everyone's having success with games, and now they want games IP, but all the games IP is taken. So the IP that isn't taken is Atari, and the reason is that it's not there's no story, there's nothing to make into a movie. And so now they're optioning that IP. I'll be interested to see if it ever comes out. But there's no audience for it. I mean, look at what happened with Mortal Kombat, which is a way bigger, more relevant IP. That's not even relevant to Gen Z. So the idea that everything gaming is for the youth, it's just not true. Games that were made 40 years ago just don't have resonance with younger gamers. The reason that Last of Us works is that there was a recent installment from that game just a few years ago.
It's also zombies instead of fucking Brick Breaker,
Yeah, zombies. Okay, but and Mario is in zombies, but there's but Nintendo comes out with a new generation every few years, new Mario games all the time. So Mario is constantly in the culture, right?
Koji, you gave this an emerald green. Are you ready to tell Chris why he's full of shit?
Well, I mean, I think his opinion is valid, but I disagree just because for two reasons. One, I'm just happy that fucking movies are so fucking back. It was just like if you had talked to anybody a year ago, they'd be like, "There's no way I even want to touch making movies. I don't want my IP anywhere near it," because like people weren't going to the box office and people weren't interested in doing this sort of thing, and now we're seeing a sort of explosion. I also think that IP in the right hands can be done well, and we saw that with Barbie. And I think that like the reason why Masters of the Universe failed was because it was done poorly, not because if it was an interesting enough movie, young people would have seen it, not based on the IP, but because it was something interesting. And so the reason why
I've only heard good things about the movie itself.
It was a great film. It's perhaps the greatest. It's better than the Odyssey. It's the best film in the year.
It's quite poor. It also has potential sex offender Jared Leto in it, and who's arguably the best character in the movie, which is insane. But I digress. Here's the thing: the IP that they're suggesting here is so low stakes that you're not going to get a bunch of bent out of shape nerds being like, "Oh no, look what they did to my boy!" Like The Last of Us season 1 was like revelatory. Everyone was like, "This is the greatest thing I've ever seen." And then season 2, they were like, "This is the worst pile of garbage I've ever seen. I hate it." And mainly because it was fronted by a woman. Like this is like what we're dealing with now. So I think that like as long as you're making things that are somewhat recognizable, that people aren't insanely passionate about and don't care if you butcher, like I think it's actually fine, and it's actually better to use that IP than it is to use something beloved.
But nobody's gonna go see it though, right? I told the boys, we go into the Pong movie this week. Like I don't
they already made this movie. It's called Pixels, and it stars the Sandman. Are we gonna get better than the Sandman?
You could also say Wreck-It Ralph was this movie, and that movie did fucking great. You know, like
a bunch of amazing characters.
Yeah, but those characters weren't.
IP
but those characters weren't.
No. Seconds of.
Those characters weren't known when that movie came out. You know, like I don't think that this. Like,
are you fucking kidding me? I gotta.
How many Wreck-It Ralph games did you play before that movie? What's the name of the female character? What's the name of the female character in the movie? What's the name of the female?
Sam got so triggered he muted himself.
Yeah. Name her without Googling it.
Sam's like, I gotta shut this guy up. Turns himself off.
Am I muted?
I'll tell you what it is.
It's the candy princess lady. I can't remember her name.
Her name is Vanellope. But
Vanellope, yeah.
Von Schweetz.
Exactly. Exactly. I think that if you make the movies interesting enough, people will go. Like the new Resident Evil film, people are going to see because it's Zach Kreger, not because it's Resident Evil.
Hello.
We've been hearing you the whole time. I don't think you can hear us.
No, I can hear you. All right, let's go over to Tony and then Knock.
Yeah, so I was just blown away by Knock's bad take, but no, I think that I can't imagine a world where a good movie comes out of any of these IPs, and that's where I really struggle. I think Koji makes an interesting point with Wreck-It Ralph, but just a quick Google does in fact say that characters like Sonic, Bowser, Street Fighter, Disney,
yes,
Snow White, Cinderella,
have you seen the movie? Have you seen the movie? They're in it for 2 seconds.
Frogger, Paperboy.
Yeah, but sorry,
Frogger. We're talking about Frog. You just listed off.
My point, Koji, is that this is what the commercial was. Go back and watch the trailer. It wasn't 90 seconds of Ralph. It was 90 seconds of fucking look Bowser, look Pac-Man, look Qbert, and that's what got you in to see that the movie was good. All right, go ahead. Let's go to Tony.
Homeboy is talking about Pac-Man and Frogger, like that's connecting with the youth audience. What are we doing here?
I was talking about the Disney characters, and that's where I was going to go before Sam muted me. Is like the thing that makes me feel like there's just not going to be an audience for this is Wreck-It Ralph used the catfish everyone and thought made us think we were going to see a movie about Sonic, and then they actually made a good movie. But I don't know how they do that with the Atari IP, and I don't like the track record of Atari doing stuff in the last 20 years or 15 years since I've been in gaming is not great, and they seem to do these weird experimental things that just suck. And so like my conviction in their, I guess, licensing group is just very, very low. Like they launched some piece of shit like Ouya style console a couple years ago that like 5 people knew about, and
I don't think it ever came out.
Yeah, man. I'm like, I knew the guy. I like the guy. I knew the guy running BD for it. Very nice guy, but like wouldn't hire him and like wouldn't let him watch my kid. Like, not because he's a bad guy. He's not confident. Like I might like leave the toaster on or something, right? So I'm just not confident that that's like the team to knock this out of the park.
I think you need to visit AtariHotels.com, and that will change your mind dramatically.
Okay.
It's from the Pong Room, boys. Knock, going to you.
What the fuck is this movie gonna be about? Like that's my biggest concern here is like, let's not argue about the IP because it's fucking terrible. What could this movie possibly be about with the IP that you have just listed? That's my biggest concern. Like I just I have such a hard time, and I thought about this because I wanted to Steelman it. I cannot think of a single interesting plot line that just randomly fits in Caterpillar and fucking Pong into the same movie. It just doesn't make any sense to me.
Man, you're gonna look retarded when Christopher Nolan when Christopher Nolan's Atari comes out.
Atari on fucking IMAX 70 mil, no CGI.
It's funny that you say that. It's funny that you say that though. But what if it was like James Cameron's Atari or James Gunn's Atari or Jordan Peele's Atari? Like you'd be interested.
Hold on, Jordan Peele's Atari would be pretty fucking good. That I would sign up to go watch for sure. I'll give you that. Ryan Coogler's Atari, like
Wes Anderson's Atari.
Well, I mean, I'll watch anything that guy makes. But I think that like it's possible, right? You could sell it. You could still sell it based on a little bit of IP and a director.
Let's get Oliver into the mix, and then we'll tag Josh in.
Okay. Oh, man. Wreck-It Ralph, great movie. But it wasn't because of the games. Nobody even knew what Wreck-It Ralph was. Like, my kids didn't know who Wreck-It Ralph was. It was a good movie. It had good lore. It had good characters. To the point that we were just making previously, it has to be a really fucking good movie for something to actually work. So there's like this positive spin on potentially what could be possible. I think that's like a sub 3% chance that you actually get this to make sense and work the way that it needs to work. What I have a problem with is if you just go back in history in the last 10 years of Atari, I feel like they've been in like 20 different business ventures across a number of different places, doing all sorts of different things with their IP, trying to license it to whoever would take it. And I don't think that's good business. Therefore, I don't know if they're going to be able to replicate any of the movie success that Wreck-It Ralph or Mario or other people have had. And then I think at the core of it is like, do I feel very confident that they're going to find somebody like a director that we were just referencing, or a producer, or these big miracle names that are going to come out from the woodwork to do an Atari film? And I just don't feel very confident in that. Like, Atari doesn't feel like the type of brand that's like, here, Christopher Nolan, $100 million in your pocket, make this the best movie you've ever made in your entire career. That's not happening. Like, they don't have the money or the resourcing to be able to do that. I'm not saying that they wouldn't. They could license it to a studio, and a studio could pay a director or producer. I just don't feel like they have the business acumen to be able to make something like that happen. So for that reason, I was a red flag. On top of the fact that none of the games have any narrative or character or lore that I'm like, hell yeah. Now, do I think you could get like some 80s and 90s people that are like, I played this or that asteroid, I played, whatever, a long time ago? Maybe, but like, I just don't think that gives it enough oomph to tell you that this is going to be a good movie. And I think, yeah, you're just stuck. I think there's a sub 3% chance that this is anything even worth seeing or watching.
Hard to agree with you there, Ollie. Let's go to Josh for the last word. Then we're going to try to sneak in a few more topics before we run out of time.
Yeah, I don't have anything brilliant to add. I want to say that I would see the Jordan Peele version of this knock, so I'm totally down for that. And look, I do think that's where it has to come from, right? It's some total left field, whackadelic, version of this thing. Chris, question for you: what made Tron successful? In terms of, my kids wouldn't have a clue what Tron was, right? But it wasn't successful. I mean, the first, they've all been flops, but they're cult classics. That's the thing, is they all get an audience like 5 years later, 10 years later, whatever. And they live in the pop culture and the internet, and then Disney gets talked into making another movie because there's so much heat online, and then it flops, and then the cycle repeats. So, I mean, I'm not saying that it's video game movies don't work. It's that I just think this IP isn't enough of an IP, and it's too far in the past, and it hasn't been. It hasn't been updated or brought back in the culture in so long that there's no pin-up demand for this, right?
I've been waiting for 45 years for this.
Just because we're talking about movies, I get to be the actually guy. Tron Legacy was not a flop. It made a decent sum of money. Not a great sum of money, but a decent sum of money.
Actually,
Tron is cool, though. Tron is
I think Bob Iger would say otherwise.
All right, Ollie,
because that's what he told me.
What's up?
The last red flag here actually is that Koji's dream comes true here, and Jordan Peele does a spin-off on Atari, and then every video game known to mankind with any sort of relevant IP at any point in the world will have a movie made about it, and we will be in like
we're already there. We're already there.
We're talking about fucking Pong and Caterpillar, brother. We're there.
Yeah. Have you guys not seen the Matchbox?
I'm telling you, right?
Have you guys not seen the Matchbox movie preview or whatever? The trailer for the movie Matchbox?
I don't know what you're talking about.
We
got to move on if we're going to get through any of this shit. Capcom wants a Resident Evil every single year. New mainline entries whenever they're ready. Remakes and spin-offs filling the gaps. That's the Call of Duty playbook applied to survival horror. And look at the timing. They said this last week. They posted their 9th straight record profit year. Requiem back in February became the fastest selling Resident Evil ever. 8 million copies. The franchise just crossed 213 million lifetime copies sold of the franchise. Nobody here is annualizing out of desperation. It's a company that just wants to maximize the profits. Now, I want to be careful because this is a little bit of a comeback story, but not too much. Resident Evil was never in commercial trouble. RE5 and RE6 sold millions of copies, but they weren't exactly super happy with the identity. The franchise was beginning to dip, and then Capcom chased co-op action in this sort of amalgamation of what Resident Evil became. But Umbrella Corp in 2016 was one of the worst reviewed things they had ever shipped, and somewhere in there, Resident Evil began to fix it in 2017 with Resident Evil 7. The risk here is the obvious one, the last Capcom optimized franchise for volume. The sales held up fine the entire time, though. That's exactly what made this really difficult to see. Are we entering the Star Warsification, buy or sell Resident Evil? Tony, going to you.
I'm all in on this. I can't get enough Resident Evil.
I'm buying.
I'm not buying it. No, thanks.
Slight sell.
I'm the biggest possible buy ever, just because I'm a greedy capitalist, not because I think this is a good idea.
I'll be a buy if I'm a greedy capitalist, but it's a sell.
All right, Koji, I'm going to you first. How do we maximally extract with our greedy capitalistic nature without making this a Star Wars where now it's oversaturated and the IP value is gone to dirt?
They're already doing it. Zach Kreger is coming out. Another fantastic director, by the way, is coming out with the Resident Evil movie this year. It's going to be fucking amazing. The people have seen it, have said it's like transcendent, and it's nothing like any of the other games, which just adds to the world of Resident Evil is cool. And so they're just going to be able to, on the back of that movie, resell the games they already have and probably sell for the next couple of years some of this new nonsense. And then those people will get entrenched and they can extract year after year from them for the next like 5-6 years before we have a topic here on the show about, oh, it's like recycled and it's using DLSS 10 and whatever the fuck else, but like, until then, they're just going to make so much goddamn money. There's no reason for you to be selling this.
Ollie, you are a sell. Tell me why.
I've lived it for, 15 years with Call of Duty. I don't need any more of this. This is, look, you can think what you want to think. You can feel optimistic. I just have no world in which I feel like this actually leads to success long-term with your player base. And I think for community people that love this game, love the IP, I think it ultimately hurts them because you're just going to see reskinned versions of this to some degree, and I just don't like that. I think it really hurts the gamers here more than anything else. From a greedy capitalist perspective, obviously it's great.
Tony, you're all in though. As a fan of the franchise, you don't think that you're going to start liking Resident Evil less as it gives you annual installments?
No, and like I don't think that the Star Wars argument holds up. Like, yeah, again, if you're real highbrow and like a Star Wars snob, if you will, the IP has gone to shit. But like, if you're anyone who watches Disney Plus, you're watching a lot of Star Wars shit, right? Like they didn't make Mandalorian and Grogu because Mandalorian did poorly, right? Like they made that because Mandalorian did well as an IP. And so, yeah, I mean, I'm that guy. I want to play all the Star Wars. I want to play all the Resident Evil. I didn't know that the Resident Evil movie was coming out this year. I'm going to watch the shit out of that. And so, yeah, I think that this kind of zombie story can be told over and over again. And as we saw with The Walking Dead, you can go after the zombie apocalypse for years and keep it interesting. And so I think there's just a lot of meat on this bone, and it can support a yearly release of some sort.
And to be fair, Star Wars has just pretty much always been bad. They've made like 3 good things in the last 25 years. So,
I mean, Koji is wrong, but other than that, Star Wars is great. Star Wars is fucking great. Shut up.
Let's go to Chris, then we'll tag in Doc.
You guys have kind of changed my mind. I think I'm a hold on this, not a slight sell. I was a sell because I was concerned about burnout, but I think if the strategy here is, hey, we've got a movie from Zach Kreger, we think it's going to be huge and people are going to love it. It's going to bring a lot of people into the franchise. There's also this opportunity to remake old classics, and there's a market for that now. Like, why not do it? and do it in alternating years so that and do it as a way for new fans to get caught up, because the thing that I think Fallout didn't do, and now they're starting to do, is they had this big success on TV, but then they had no gaming net to catch that audience in, really. They had some of the older games, and you really need stuff that those audiences that find the IP can get into and get engaged in. So if you look at it as like a catalog strategy for the new people coming in, I think it's a good idea.
That is a good point. You like the movie, you want to get involved in the franchise, but you don't want to play a 20-year-old game. I could play the remaster because it's coming out. I could see it. Knock, going to you.
Yeah, I'm a big buy. I mean, look, killing Uncle Ben, same but different every 5 years, worked for Spider-Man. Why can't destroying Raccoon City work for Resident Evil? Like, I think that the beautiful thing about a zombie game and the zombie genre in general, and part of the reason why it literally never dies, is that there's so many stories to tell about a world inflicted by some sort of zombie outbreak that you can envision. You can go through like political dramas. You can talk about the humans and how they survive together. It can just be a straight up kill the zombie game. I think when they say they want to release a game every year, it doesn't mean that it needs to be a mainline story game. I think that they can get creative with the titles that come out on a yearly basis.
But will they? We move on. What can gamers loving AI companions can teach the industry? Reddit is usually merciless about AI in games. It is a slur to use AI anywhere near the word games. Then somebody rebuilt World of Warcraft as a single-player experience, filled it with roughly 1,700 AI-driven companions, NPCs, and other quote-unquote players, and posted it to the video game subreddit, and they fucking loved it. This is the same audience that tanks AI-disclosed games on Steam, and the same audience that calls DLSS 5 slop and screenshots every frame, like we talked about earlier. The same technology with a different implementation is creating the opposite reaction. It looks like gamers reward AI maybe that fills a dead world and enables solo play with more life, and punishes AI that replaces art, writers, human craft, or whatever might be seen as cutting corners. Panel, can the industry learn anything from this experience, or should it be chalked up to the chaos of the internet that finally broke through? And so, of course, we just like World of Warcraft, and therefore, it makes AI okay. The game mode here a little bit different. Just what can we learn? So I'm not going to go around the horn. Oliver, I'll go to you first, then Chris.
Nothing. We can learn nothing.
Chris,
that is it. That is it. I don't have much more. People love a really good story and a compelling narrative, and this is some guy that reworked a game, and so everybody's giving him applause. But when the game studios do it, it's not okay. This is literally the most hypocritical thing I've ever seen in my entire life. But it's the internet, and so we can learn nothing from it. I think it's very, very clear that people love to support one-man shows or good stories or narratives, and I think that's probably what this boils down to.
That is a lesson in and of itself. Chris, what you got?
There's a pretty big subsection of gamers that are gooners, is the lesson there. And, I think that they're finding in AI companions what they have not been finding in games for a few years. But also there was a great article that I posted a few days ago about Iwata-san, the legendary chairman of Nintendo, and the 3 categories of gaming that he thought were going to be forever green. And one of them was social games. He was like, people will always look for a way to find connection through gaming, and if you can do that with AI now, there are people who will want it.
So social games not necessarily meaning with another human, just meaning a social-esque interaction between you and
the desire to feel connected and social, right? And it's kind of social methadone, I guess. But as NPCs become smarter and know more about you and are able to interact with you like a real person in game, it's going to be very transformative to the user experience. They're not just going to be quest givers and like story beat distributors.
Not going to you then, Koji.
Yeah, I for one am shocked that Redditors are loving AI companions in a video game. I think the thing we can learn here is that there are a bunch of people on Reddit who just want to fuck Jaina Proudmore, which is probably what's actually happening here. Fuck. Jokes aside, I think that like there's actually a really interesting implementation here. Like I love the idea of a living, breathing game environment. And one of the coolest video game experiences I've ever had was in Shadow of Mordor, when the orc leaders would like follow you around and hate you depending on your actions within the game. That came out like 15 years ago. And then the gaming industry just said, we'll just never touch that ever again. I think like an elevated, more lively version of that experience could be an incredible thing to include in
Dude, they couldn't because it was patented.
Yeah, well, fuck them. Do it again. AI now, right? Surely with our chatbots, we can do something. No, but I think what's actually happening here is this is Reddit doing Reddit things. I don't think that there's like an actual takeaway other than you could probably create some cool social experiences with some AIs within your games.
Let's go to Koji, then to Josh.
Yeah, I think what we've learned is it's already too late for us. When I was younger and I would visit my family in Japan, everything was like 2 to 3 years ahead of us at a minimum. Like the tech that they had, because like the internet hadn't proliferated everything. The tech that they had was like 2 years from now, we'll have those cell phones. We'll have these computers. Mini discs never made its way over here really, but like that kind of stuff. And you know what they're 2 years ahead of now? The absolute cratering of the birth rate of human beings, because people would rather talk to computers than other human beings. Like this is literally, we need to update Dante's Inferno because this is the 69th circle of hell. What we have here now. It's just like, what are we doing? All this is telling us is like people are afraid to interact with other people, so they feel safer knowing I am just talking to a computer here, right? Because if I offend them, if I do whatever, the consequences are zero. And this is how we get Bear from Obsession, man. These people are just not going to be able to talk to anybody ever, and that's the world we're going to live in. You know what? I'm buying stock in human-sized pillows right as we speak. Just based on this, because of how fucked we are.
Oh man, Josh, what do you have here?
I mean, the sort of pick up on that, but not really. I mean, the interesting thing is that most Japanese companies are pretty anti-AI, and Nintendo specifically has been very vocally anti-AI, right? So I don't know how they reconcile that with some of these visions of the future. I've spent so many hours crying in Reddit and in subreddits. Even the AI game dev subreddits are very persnickety around how you use AI, and it's they're holier than thou, multiplied in there. But I think Oliver is right. I have analyzed every angle that you can possibly think of how to get people comfortable with AI usage in games. And this just blew my fucking mind and made me, go cry in a corner. I don't know what to take from it. I don't personally think it's all that interesting and all that. Well, I don't think it's that well made, but kudos to him, them, whoever made it. I don't begrudge anybody their momentary success.
We move on. Josh, great to get your point of view on that one. This is a gamified first, brand new game mode, Ban Hammer. It's very simple. We're just going to go around anybody that wants to take it. Every single one of you has been practiced in the games industry, and tonight you get the Ban Hammer. Name it, swing it, defend it, 60 seconds on the clock. What's an industry norm in the games industry that you would ban for life if you just got to say nobody is allowed to do this bullshit anymore? I'm tired of the effect that it's having on me, my colleagues, the industry, the economy, like whatever it may be. Josh, I saw your name light up first. We'll go back to you. What are you banning?
Steam. No. Steam wish list. How about Steam wish list? I'll go down from Steam to Steam wish list.
Okay.
I think, as an indie dev, being micromanaged under Steam wish lists, I think is bullshit.
And what exactly about it? Like, what do you think would be the alternative that would replace it, or what would be better about the world? I guess if it was banned.
I think it's these things have become this sort of like, be all end all of analysis of, how successful your game is. Mm-hmm. Not to say that my game personally doesn't have over 100,000 wish lists, which of course it does. Wink, wink. But, look, I think there are other game devs who work their asses off. And, if they can't get, over, a few hundred, few thousand, wish lists, feel like they're absolute, failures. And I think it's horrible. I also am not a huge, this is not the same soapbox, but not a huge fan of the AI Scarlet Letter on Steam. I feel like that has not helped our industry as well.
Knock, I think I saw your name next. What are you banning, brother?
Purchasable day one DLC. That's just the fucking game, right? If it's ready for day one and I can buy it on day one after I've already bought the game, that's just the game. Give me the game. I fucking hate it.
Tony, up to you, bud.
Individual role-based bonuses at the end of a project. I think that if you're making a video game and there's 100, 200 people on the team and the game makes $1 bazillion, the EP shouldn't get $1 million bonus or a $2 million bonus. Everyone should get I'm happy to stratify it, but I think everyone at the studio should get a fat bonus if one person's going to become a millionaire. That's my strong opinion.
Is that something that you've seen often throughout your experience in the games industry?
Certainly in the AAA space. Yeah. There are there will be anywhere between 5. At EA where I was, there would be between 5 and 10 people, like usually 8 that had some sort of, if the game makes $1 bazillion, you're going to make 6 figures or 7 figures. It was like the EP, and then the EP usually had some sort of discretionary bonus fund that he could give out to his directs. And then depending on the studio, the technical lead would get some sort of chunk. And then it's EA Sports. I might have just been sports, but the guy who ran it was the marketing guy. And so he had one discretionary bonus that he could pass out. And I always thought that was crazy. It just ended up being like a middle school girls locker room or, prom popularity contest, and wasn't, because the EPs are talented, but they're not making the game successful, right? They're a real big part of it. Anyway, that's mine. I ban.
Oliver, you're wielding the ban hammer, brother. What are you getting rid of?
This is a dream. This is a pie in the sky concept. This would never, ever, ever happen. But I am banning game trailers without fully developed, polished games behind them.
Ooh.
That is what I'm banning. I guess to elaborate on that, I'm just tired of seeing really polished, awesome game trailers, and then you go and find out that the game is not even close to being ready, or they have very small snippets, and it's not anything near what you're watching. I totally get the value of having a game trailer that adds to lore or character description or visuals or this or that, but I think it is literally the most misleading thing in gaming.
That drives me absolutely fucking crazy too. I like that one a lot. If anybody wants to hear us debate this, we talked about the State of Decay 3 trailer that was released, and then somebody 6 years later said, yeah, whenever we released that trailer, it was still a Word document. I was like, what the fuck? How is this possible? Koji, going to you. What are you banning from the games industry?
I actually have a funny story about that beforehand. It's not exactly a trailer, but we showed somebody a working prototype of a product, someone that was going to give us money, who ended up giving us money. And then we told them later, yeah, we had about an 80% confidence that the product was actually going to work. It ended up working, thankfully, but you got to do what you got to do to get the money. But I'm going to take my filthy capitalist hat off. I know I was arguing about it earlier, but rapid fire sequels, just make good games. Maybe don't make as many sequels. Focus on some other things, and then come back to the games when you have something good to show us. I'll take. I already took my hat off, but I'll take my hat off again for for the GTA franchise, or some of the Elder Scrolls stuff, because they take their time to do it right. It's not just because they could throw out a sequel every 2 years and people would probably buy it, right? They probably would, but That's not what we want. Like, make good games. And you know, I'll point right directly at EA or anyone else. It's just like, you don't need to make these games every year. Just like, hold off, maybe use some of those resources elsewhere, or just use those resources on making a better game the second year or third year or whatever. But I'd love to just ban rapid fire sequeling.
I'm with you on that one as well. Hot off the Resident Evil topic too. Chris, going to you. What are you banning from the industry? And also maybe kick us off with the MVP voting, bud.
I'm banning taking longer than 3 years to make a game. I think if it takes longer than a presidential administration to make a game, the culture probably has changed too much, and you're going to find yourself in trouble. And I'm going to give mine to Knock. I felt like he had some good points, even though he was wrong today.
Knock and Koji both making me use the mute button that I extremely rarely use, but they did have some good points. Knock, going to you. Who's your MVP of the day, bud?
Well, I'll give you the runner-up for muting yourself and then not hearing us for 45 seconds. But my MVP is Koji today. I think he crushed it.
Koji, who's your MVP of the day?
Oh man, it's tough. It's tough. I'm split between Tony and Knock, but in my now traditional sense, I'm going to give it to Tony because he made me shut the fuck up him multiple times this episode, and I appreciate somebody that I can joust with. So I'll give it to you, Tony. But Knock, you're 1A.
Tony, congratulations on that supposed honor. Who you got for MVP?
I love it. I've got Chris for bringing the Gunnar insight.
Oliver, who you got for MVP?
I got Koji. I disagreed with a lot of his takes, but I thought many of them were valid and well spoken.
And Josh, last but not least, great to have you on today's episode, brother. Who you got for your MVP vote?
What's the total count now? What do you got?
We got.
He's gaming the system. He's gaming the system.
We're doing some quick math. Koji with 2, and then Chris, Knock, and Tony with 1.
Oh man, oh god, I don't know. I'll give it to Knock. I like where he's coming from.
That means Mr. Lems in the background gets the tiebreaker. Lems, who's your MVP of the day?
The whole fucking production team is in a blender today.
He says Knock. He says Knock.
Even though he was wrong about graphics, Knock takes it. That's our MVP. Knock, 60 seconds of FaceTime. Tell us what we've won.
No, I'm sending it over to Josh. I want to hear about his game that not Wink's got 100 plus or 100,000 plus wish list. New guy on the show. You take it, Josh.
Oh man, I appreciate that. dgenrivals.com. Check it out, guys. A super fun 8-player multiplayer vehicle battle royale in the spirit of Twisted Metal. We may or may not use AI in some really clever, fun ways, but I encourage you guys to check it out. Let me know, get you guys some keys, and we can battle it up. Let's do it. Thanks, guys, for having me. I appreciate that. I'm glad I wore a diaper today. I was prepared. This might run long.
Yeah, great stuff. Josh, super excited about some of the ways you're integrating AI. He's been posting a bunch of clips on LinkedIn too for anybody that wants to check out some of those interesting ways that he's trying to innovate with just not making it AI slop, but instead trying to make it a really unique user experience, which I appreciate you pushing the needle forward. Another great episode of Gamified, number 170. Man, we've been doing this for over 3 years now. Big shout out to Lems and Phil in the background making the show possible, and all these amazing panelists. Love you guys so much, and sorry for getting so spicy today. I usually don't do that, but today you brought it out of me. So well done on that count, Koji and Knock especially. Love you guys. We'll see you same time, same place next week.